So my name is Spencer. I go by Revive Panda Fitness. I was born in Utah. I moved to Las Vegas when I was 3 years old. I grew up here, and I've been here for over 30 years.
Nice, dude. My name is Alec Gardner. My brand name is Sabo Strength. I'm an online fitness coach. I was born in Florida, grew up in Wisconsin, and moved out to California. And I believe 2018. Yeah, so I've been out here a little bit of time now.
Nice.
But yeah,
That's your first time in Vegas, right?
no, this is my second time in Vegas. So the first time I was in Vegas was last year for a totally different reason, but didn't really get to see the sights, didn't really get to see the city, was pretty much locked into one space the whole time. So
Yeah.
this was a cool opportunity to actually get to go around, go to different gyms. Obviously, we were here for a mastermind, but it was a super awesome time. So my last day here, so getting a fun podcast in with my boy here. So
That's right. So what did we do this past weekend?
we were here for a mastermind, and it was an awesome time, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
the connections with the people, the stories that we got to hear, the opportunities and the learning experiences was just,
Huge.
incredible.
Energy was unmatched.
Absolutely unmatched. The gym, went to the gym every day. I don't think I've trained for 3 hours every day in a very long time. So for
Yeah.
the last 4 days, every day we've trained for like at least 2 hours. My body is shot.
Yeah, my upper body's sore, dude.
Yeah.
But it was good though, man. I had such a blast, going into it. Obviously, we met at a previous mastermind in August, right, of
Yeah.
last year for Taylor Thrasher's mastermind event. And just staying in contact with you throughout that entire time, watching you build your business has been super inspiring to me to stay committed to it, because there were many times where it was like, I went to that mastermind thinking like, can I even do this? And then kind of getting the self-belief to do it. And then watching you do it from the sidelines and you staying in contact with me helped me be like, no, let me stay consistent, because like I could see he's doing it, and like feeding off of your energy is just always, you inspire me, basically. You know what I mean?
Well, thank you.
Yeah, of course, bro. So
That's my goal, dude, is to inspire others. When I started this whole experience, I'll take it back actually for you. So I was working at Texas Roadhouse. I started working there when I was 18 in Wisconsin, and that was pretty much my main gig. I was a line cook my whole life, and I joined Taylor Thrasher's program where, we went to his event in August, and that's where we met. And he helped me go from 265 pounds down to 180 pounds in about 9 or 10 months. And when I saw what I was capable of, right? I was like, dang, what else am I capable of, right? And I wanted to help others find their passion for what they want to do, whether it's fitness or not, And but my passion was fitness, right? And so what actually happened was last January, I was in the gym and I dropped a 45-pound plate on the top of my foot and I broke my foot.
No.
And that gave me an opportunity, right? I always go back and I say it was God at work, right? Because God knew I was unhappy with where I was at. And it's funny to say he broke my foot, because obviously I broke my own foot, but that time while I was off of work, there was a lag in the way I was getting paid. So there was like 2 accounts that I had through Texas Roadhouse, and they couldn't figure out which one was me. So there was like 2 months where I didn't get paid. So I had to figure out a way to make some money. And I said, you know what, let me try this online coaching thing. I've been in a program for over a year. I understand macros. I understand training. I understand the ins and outs of the systems and the tools that we utilize for the different programs. And so what I did was I put 2 of my buddies on for free, right? And I said, hey guys, listen, I'm really passionate about this. And I know you guys have seen my success over the last year and a half. Would you guys be interested in me helping you? And they said, yeah. And I said, okay, I have one stipulation, right? You got to commit. You got to do this shit. And they did it. And I utilized my transformation and their transformations to start building my business. And, we talk about don't do anything for free, but I think there is a strong a strong opportunity when you help somebody out for free, at least in the beginning, right? Because if I wouldn't have helped those two guys out, shout out Tyler and Richie, I wouldn't have had their transformations. Therefore, I wouldn't have been able to build my business. Now, I probably would have still been able to build my business, but it would have taken a lot longer, and within my first 2 or 3 weeks, I made more money than I had ever made ever in a month. And right away I was like, oh, dude, I can do this.
Right.
I
From
can do
payroll.
Yeah, literally. And it just all kind of exploded from there. And I took the next 6 or 7 months off of work to heal and just focused on my business. But when I got back, when my foot healed, I went back to Roadhouse, and everything started slowing down on the coaching side. And I knew there was opportunity, but I had my hand in way too many cookie jars, right? So I just kind of fell into, I guess you could call it a depression, right?
Sure.
But I knew that something had to be done. So I don't know, what happened to you? When did you start coaching,
Well, so many years of crash dieting. I was always overweight. I grew up here in Vegas, obviously, but I was always overweight. I never understood why I was bigger than my friends or fatter than them. I always thought maybe they have a fast metabolism. I was told that, oh, it's just baby weight. It'll shed off, but I was so embarrassed to take my shirt off in front of everybody and like going to the water park as a kid, getting laughed at for being the chubby kid or just being overweight and fat and like being different, So that led me to, this is a funny story because like when I first decided like I want to get rid of this, I was probably 10 years old. There was a store down the street from the apartment that we lived in, and I had seen in that store they had this bottle of juice called the Hollywood Diet, and I went in there and stole it. And on the front of it was a dude with a 6-pack and a chick, and I was like, that's going to get me a 6-pack. Like, this is the answer, this magic elixir, right? Yeah, this juice is going to do it for me. So I drank it and nothing happened. And, that was the first intro to like, how do I change myself and change the way that I look? Because I obviously was unhappy with it, right? Obviously it didn't work. And then, growing up, going to high school or middle school, high school, still being fat. In high school, I did Atkins for the first time with my mom, which was, it's all low carb. You eat whatever you want, bacon, meat, all the fats, right?
You just cut out carbs, basically?
Yeah, just cut out carbs. And yeah, I lost, a good 30, 40 pounds. But then when I got off of it, gained it all back. I got a job at McDonald's after that.
That'll work.
Yeah. I was eating chicken nuggets, just passing by the fryer and stuff like that. And then, it ultimately led me to gaining weight, losing weight, gaining weight, losing weight, tons of times in my life, and then it got to the point in my late 20s, probably 25, 26, I finally hired a coach, a personal trainer that I had went to high school with, shout out Trong. And he showed me the way to like follow a meal plan, follow a training plan. So all that crash dieting before that was like, this isn't going to work. Like none of that's working. Followed his plan, got down to a decent weight, and then let him go and was like, okay, I think I got it now. And then COVID happened, the gym shut down, and I let go, I just gained a ton of weight back. And then I was like, let me see what this carnivore diet's all about.
Carnivore.
Did that same thing because I knew like, okay, Atkins is kind of the same thing, right? You just cut out all the carbs, you lose a bunch of weight. And I went back to caring about the numbers on the scale again. And yes, I lost a ton of weight. And then I did the same thing. I gained it all back after going back to dirty foods, pizza, burgers, anything I wanted because I was celebrating, right? Like, I lost the weight. I'm good now. I can eat whatever I want.
Yeah.
And then, then I got into the mentality of I just need to work harder at work and then go to the gym and I can eat whatever I want. And obviously, not the case. Hired another coach. He was on First Form, and I handpicked him from his Instagram profile. Shout out Jake. And same thing. He taught me, follow this meal plan, track your macros, and this is a sustainable lifestyle. So I did that. And then what did I do? Once I got down from 265 to 200, I was like, I'm ready to bulk. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I had a really broke mindset. I was like, I don't want to pay him anymore. I learned what I can from him. And ultimately was like, okay, I cut the cord there. Now let me bulk and do a dirty bulk and went back to pizza and stuff. I was like, I need the calories. I need to get bigger. I need to build muscle. Shot right back up to 265. And then around that time frame was when I saw Taylor's Instagram and his YouTube, because I was already working blue collar. And I saw him like getting up, prepping his meals and everything. And I was like, I had just started the 75 hard program and I was doing pretty good on it. So I was prepping my meals and stuff like that. So I saw the way that he was doing it. I was like, I do that. I get up, I go to the gym, I prep my meals because I was trying, right? And I had a pretty decent transformation at the time, going from 265 down to, I think it was like 210 or something when we finally went to Taylor's mastermind. And then, that led me to there, which, I had kind of discovered, what is this online coaching thing? Like, what is Taylor doing? He's living this crazy lifestyle. He quit his blue collar job. So it kind of opened the door in my mind to like, oh, there's a way out of the blue collar business that doesn't have to have a degree or, some other high tech job that I'm not qualified for. So going there with the open mind of like, let me see what this coaching thing's all about, because I'm into fitness now. I have a decent transformation, but I was in the mindset of like, I have to be jacked first before I can even think about starting an online coaching business. But it wasn't until going to that event, talking to Taylor, and he was like, I showed him my transformation. He's like, dude, like when I started my coaching business, I was at the tail end of a bulk and people related to that. He was like, it's about being relatable and you have a relatable transformation to where people would relate to that. And he was right. Mm-hmm. So that's what led me into fitness and the online coaching industry of having the self-limiting belief of like, I don't know if I'm worth it, going there, believing that, okay, it's about being relatable and helping people like the old version of myself.
Yeah.
So that's really what brought me into it, which led me to you and us staying into contact, since last August up until now. And now we're on the same team, building our businesses at the same time. So it's like, and we feed off each other, dude. Like I said, you inspire me. Everything that you do, I see, I'm like, I got to work harder. He's over there grinding. I know he's up at 3 a.m. right now doing push-ups. Like I can't sleep. Because it's not that like I don't want to see you win without me, but it just like pushes me harder when I see you winning,
Yeah.
And I'm proud of you, dude. Like you're killing it, bro.
I appreciate that, bro. I'm proud of you too, man.
Thank you.
And we've talked about this weekend too. Show me your circle, and I'll show you your future. Right? We can even take this back. You and I have very similar stories. Addiction, jail, problems at home, lies, trauma, ego, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I always found myself feeling like I wasn't good enough, even in high school, even in middle school. You talked about being overweight, being embarrassed to take your shirt off. I played soccer and I was like the worst one on the team. I was the only kid who didn't make it to varsity. Quit my junior year because I fell in love with music. I've always been in love with music. That's another thing that we have in common too,
Right.
I started playing drums when I was like 3 years old and always had a passion for music, but I quickly found out that, no matter what I was doing, I always felt like I was unworthy of being where I was at because I couldn't play the drums fast enough, or I couldn't kick the ball far enough or run fast enough, or I didn't have X, Y, and Z. So I always felt so unworthy, and I carried that in my bones. And for a long time, it held me back from moving forward because I felt like I was being judged. And that's something that I always talk to my clients about is don't compare yourself to anyone else. I think it's good to compare yourself to other people, so you can have a standard that you want to live by. Like we said, we saw Taylor's life, we saw his success, and we didn't compare ourselves to him, but we wanted to be like him, and we looked up to him.
Yeah.
And I think that's the type of comparison that's good. But when you have like somebody that you're looking at and you're like, why don't I look like that guy? Well, you're never going to look like that guy because that's not you, bro.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I always found out. I always tried to look like somebody else. I always wore pants of somebody that I liked. I have curly hair, and I hated having curly hair because The guys who were in the bands that I listened to had straight hair.
Yeah.
The cool kids in high school didn't have curly hair. So I was like, why do I have curly hair? I hated it. And it's just so silly now that I'm grown, and I'm just like, why was I so worried about what people thought about me?
Yeah.
It just didn't make any sense to me.
No.
And I carried that with me for a long time, and it's honestly a really big blessing that I was able to let all that go,
Mhm.
because now I know who I am. I know who I am. I know what I'm about. I know what my goals are, and I can see my future, and I'm going to get that future because I'm not going to stop. It's pedal to the metal, all gas, no brakes, right? And I think that in this day and age, there's so much going on. There's so much going wrong, and there's so much opportunity out there, especially in the social media platform, right? We're online fitness coaches. How many online fitness coaches are there right now? Hundreds of thousands.
So many.
And I think there's a huge separation. And I think I think it's very cliquey as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys who are like, I like nice things, or they don't like nice things, or I'm humble and you're not humble, or you're rude the way that you portray your message, or you're too soft. It's like, dude, who cares?
Yeah.
Be genuine, be who you are. If you like nice cars, cool. If you don't, cool.
Yeah.
If you like whatever it is, but I think that there's just so much bad energy between so many online fitness coaches, and if everyone would just chill out and just focus on their own business and the people that they're helping, and stop trying to nag or brag about what they've got or what they don't have, we could help so many more people.
Yeah.
If all the coaches just united, right?
Yeah.
But instead, it's cliquey like high school, and it's fucking pathetic.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's like, it is very cliquey, it's like, just be authentic. And I mean, people narrowing down to a niche, I get it, ultimately, like for me, I'm trying to help the old version of myself, right? When I look back at who I used to be, the struggles I had, and the way that I felt, I want to help that person. I'm not looking for a blue collar worker between 30 and 36 to help him lose 30 pounds in the next 30 days. No shame on anybody that does that. But to me, it's about ultimately just relating to the prospect and helping them, right?
Yep.
And like you said, if you like nice things, that's great. If you don't, if you like driving an old truck, cool, good for you. But I'm not going to talk shit about you because of the things that you like or the things that you don't like.
God made you that way.
Yeah.
Right? And if you consider if you consider yourself a man or woman of God, who are you to judge?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Because He's the ultimate judge. He's the ultimate physician. He can fix. He can take things away, and He can give you things like that.
100%. Very true.
So, I think that's a huge problem with what we have going on. But I think it's also a huge opportunity for us, because we're new to the coaching space, and we can kind of break that mold and build and bridge a new gap.
Yeah.
And kind of show people, like, guess what? You're a blue collar guy. I'm not. I don't have very nice things. You have a beautiful house, right? Like, but we're not here hating on each other.
Yeah.
We're here building each other up.
Mm-hmm.
And simple as that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't compare myself to people anymore. I used to, when I was a kid, like I said, I would compare myself to my friends and try to be somebody I wasn't. And like, I was thinking about this on the way over, how like when we're little boys, we kind of make everything that we're into our entire personality. Like my son right now, he's in a monster truck. So every shirt he has a monster truck on it.
Gravedigger.
Gravedigger Blaze. His hoodies, everything has a monster truck on it, right? So like we tend to make these things our personality or hyperfixate on them. And then leading into like high school, like being emo and being into emo bands, what did we do? We wore girl jeans. We dyed our hair black. We straightened our hair. We wore eyeliner. Like
pierced our lip in math class.
Yeah, pierced our lip with, safety pins, and like made that our whole identity. And like, who were we? We didn't really know, but those are just things that we did, like trying to latch on to something that we thought was cool at the time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, now being 36, like I know who I am finally, and it's not the person that compares himself or tries to fit into a certain niche or group of people that's cool.
Yeah.
Or better than, or, has nicer things. Like I've never flexed on things that I never had to try to be cool for the gram or anything like that. Not that I can remember, but, even like growing up, getting into drugs was like, I made it my whole personality. You know, I
Oh, yeah.
wanted people to know that I smoked weed and like I was the guy. If you need it, I got it. Like
Yep.
I made it my whole persona. But now, like being in this coaching space of like, I just want to help people be authentic, be real. That's who I am. You know,
Yep.
it's I'm me. I'm Spencer. You're Alec. I can't be you. You can't be me. I'm not going to try to be like you. I'm not going to compare myself to you. But yeah, dude, that's just where I'm at in this space in life. And I love it.
Heck yeah, bro. Love that. So you said you had talked about a little bit that you were into weed and stuff, and obviously we come from similar backgrounds of addiction. What do you think got you into that? What do you think was like the turning point where you went from a little boy to I want to be fucked up?
Mm. You know, when I look back on it, I don't know what it was I was running from. I know that I was very easily influenced by like I said, latching onto things I thought were cool and making it my whole persona. So I hung out with people that smoked weed. And at the time, like I had just become a Christian when I was like 14 years old and then strayed away from God, went to a different school and found this clique of people that were partying. That was my introduction to partying. And like they introduced me to weed. And yeah, what did I do? I made it my whole personality. Like I immediately latched on addictive personality. I was like, oh, this is cool. Like they're cool. I want to be like them. I want to be in that circle. So I got myself in that circle and made it my whole identity. And I'll just go into it real quick and then you can as well. But that's what led me to, first off, okay, when I was 14, I was really into music, right? We touched on how you were a drummer, I was a guitarist, right? So I, from middle school, met this clique of friends. They played music and I thought it was really cool. So I started playing guitar and joined a band, you know, hanging out with that group of friends. And music was like my identity at the time. Like I said, dyed my hair, wore girl jeans, and pierced my lip and everything like that. So I was in the scene, right? Playing shows and stuff like that, which led me to going to a different school, latching onto them, smoking weed, and then to where the weed just wasn't enough anymore. And I went to another friend's house and they were smoking black tar heroin, which we thought was opium at the time. So I had just gotten my wisdom teeth pulled and was doing mushrooms and stuff. They're like, oh, it's the same thing as lower tabs. You just smoke it. So that's what led me into heroin, smoking it, which progressively got worse to where I I had a job at the time as a busser at a sushi restaurant. And I had been doing it for probably 2 weeks. And that was my first time going without it. And I didn't know what was wrong with me. I got sick at work. I was cold. I was hot. I was shaking. I was like, I just can't get comfortable. I was going through withdrawals and I had no idea. So immediately, as soon as I did it, I felt better. So that was like, okay, I need this drug now. Now I have to get it every day. So that led me to dead end jobs and like never being able to hold a job down, you know, stealing anything I could do to get my hands on that drug. That took my life from 16 to, man, I went to rehab when I was 17 years old in a children's ward because I wasn't 18 yet. So I was surrounded by a bunch of kids,
Oh,
like just adolescents that had behavioral issues and detoxing from heroin as a 17-year-old around a bunch of kids. It was weird. And I'll never forget that experience. Ultimately, it wasn't enough because as soon as I got out of there, I went right back to it. Tried going to meetings and stuff like that and continued to relapse and relapse and relapse, which led me to another rehab. Same thing, got out of there. I did like 19 days in a like a sober living type of situation house. Got out of there, was probably good for maybe a year, maybe less, and thought, okay, like I did it. I'm good. I'm clean. I can be a functioning addict now. Let me pick up again and try to just like never got rid of those friends, like kept them on the back burner and like
mhm.
still had their phone numbers. So still kind of kept in contact with them a little bit. It was like, hey, what's up? You know, like, yeah, I've been clean for a little bit. And then started using with them again. Ultimately led me up to an overdose at like 19 years old. Just rummaging through the pantry of my mom's pills, called my friend, was like, oh, she's got this, 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 and this. I was already on heroin. He's like, yeah, take X, Y, and Z and B and C and the whole alphabet. Before I knew it, I was like leaning up against the wall, couldn't talk. My parents came and like That's the last thing I remember is them like walking towards me and I blacked out. And I woke up in the hospital strapped to the bed. They shot me with Narcan. I'm shaking all over the place. I was in the hospital for like 3 days. Still wasn't enough, right?
Yeah.
Still like, okay, got out, picked up again, led me to the state's free rehab here in Vegas. All these were here. And I did that for like 3 days, immediately got out and used again. So I was like, okay, this isn't working. Like, I don't know what's going to help me stay clean. Went to a methadone clinic, did that for like a year, relapsed again, went back to the methadone clinic and then met my wife. Or, I went to high school with my wife, but, relapsed a little bit here and there and then did like a Suboxone treatment that nobody knew about. And then I just was like, okay, maybe I just can't do that drug anymore. Let me just continue to smoke weed in my 20s all the way till I was 30. But I put that all behind me, all the opiates and stuff. So I finally like got rid of that and was like, let me just smoke weed and like make this my whole identity again. Like from high school, like, oh, I miss just smoking weed and functioning like that. So I did that, wasted so much money, so much time. When I look back on it, we lived in a $500 one-bedroom apartment. Like if I had the mindset I do now, I might be rich.
Right.
I might not have wasted
You and me
thousands of
both.
dollars, and time. But that's like my whole history of drug addiction. And then to take it back just a little bit, there was a time when, I was squatting in my ex-girlfriend's house after I had already overdosed and everything in between methadone clinics. I thought I was going to overdose again. This time was different though, because I felt it coming on, like getting cold and like my heart was racing, but I was ready to die that time. That time I grabbed my chest and I was like, okay, this is it. Like, just take me out. I'm done with this. Whatever I'm doing isn't working anymore. And I can't do this anymore because life sucks. I hate myself. I hate everything that I do. Every decision I make leads me back to this drug. But in that moment, I realized something. Nobody's going to save me. Nobody's coming to save me. No rehab, no sponsor, nothing that, like, no program is going to save me and fix me. No methadone, nothing like that. Only I could save me and make the decision to stop using this drug and stop running from myself. Because that's what I was running from the whole time. And I never realized it. Something in my head, being uncomfortable in my skin. But yeah, then married my wife and smoked weed. And then we tried to have kids for a long time. And we struggled with that for years. Like as soon as we got together, we're like, yeah, let's have kids. Like so irresponsible, right?
Yeah.
When we look back on it now, at 36, we're like, we weren't ready to have kids, and at 22 years old, we just like had that first initial spark of like, I love you. Like 2 weeks in, right? We're like, yeah, let's have kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we weren't ready, dude.
Yeah.
In God's timing, right?
Are you ever really ready?
No. And that's where I'm going with this is like, once I put the weed behind me, I put all this stuff behind me and finally realized, okay, like no more drugs, none of that. I can't do it. We have to try to have kids. The doctor said, don't do any of that stuff. We have an issue of my wife has PCOS, so she can't ovulate, right? So we had to do IVF. So we did IVF, and now my son is 3 years old. We've got 4 more embryos. And then even still, I had 9 months to prepare for when my son was born. I was drinking and doing other stuff that I shouldn't be doing. And when my son was born, I was on a bender the night before. 24 hours, right? They had told us the date that she was going to get induced. So I was like, I got time. Let me get one last banger out.
Oh, man.
So I had that one last banger, which was like, okay, I think I got like 2 more days after that. During that night, I was up for 24 hours, hitting the bag, drinking. And when I laid my head down at 5 a.m., her water broke. She was like, honey, and I just had laid my head down. So I was still like drunk, out of it, groggy. We ran to the hospital. She was in labor for 12 hours and they ultimately like, she has to do a C-section. So then, what do they do when the baby's born? After a C-section, they give it to the man, right? So you do the skin to skin and you hold it. But there was a moment of just dead silence. They just put me in the room with him and it was like, a moment with God and myself of like, I am not ready for this. I'm not ready to do this. I had 9 months to prepare,
Yeah.
but I'm not who I need to be. And the biggest thing that scared me was if he becomes who I am now, that's horrible. Like, I'm not proud of the man that I am. I cannot lead him to become who I am today. I have to change. Something has to change. And it was something within me. There was no self-development. I watched the content. I watched, podcasts and did nothing with the information. There was no action taken ever. And it wasn't until finally having that breaking point with weight loss and getting into like, what is this online coaching space thing? What is this? That it was like, okay, like there's a possibility to change my life here and actually make a difference. And it was really self-development. Sorry. My bad. It was like, working on self-development and figuring out who am I inside and what do I need to change? That's what my drug background is. That's what led me to the coaching space. And here I am.
Yeah.
Sorry, dude.
Okay.
Turn the silence on.
Good. Yeah, so I guess I have a similar story, but quite a different road. I grew up in a, I'm obviously a white boy. I grew up in a nice suburb and had a mom, had a dad. Dad owned his own business. Mom was a school teacher and always loved me, always showed compassion, always had nice things. If I wanted something, 9 times out of 10, they had the means to provide for me. And somewhere along the way, everything changed. And it was honestly when my parents got divorced. So I think it was in 2nd or 3rd grade they got divorced. My dad moved out and he got this big, nice house. He bought a big, nice boat. He got himself a brand new Jeep Wrangler. And I thought my dad was the shit. I was like, even though my parents are divorced, like, hey, guess what? Now I have 2 Christmases. Now I have 2 birthdays, and I have a twin sister too. So she felt exactly the opposite. She was broken, but I was like stoked. I was like, this is pretty sweet, and they lived in the same town. So, but what I quickly realized was both of my parents were very broken. My dad struggled with alcohol, whether he likes to admit it or not. And when my dad left, my mom fell into a very dark depression. All she wanted to do was sleep, and she found ways to sleep. The doctors helped her with pills, right? And like I said, through high school, I played soccer. I was an athlete, never the best, but always tried my hardest. And, I started playing music. And a lot of people think that a lot of times, music, and especially our type of music, metal, hardcore, whatever it is, there's parties and there's all this extra shit. It's like that. I never really experienced that, especially not in high school and middle school. But in high school, my dad kind of had this turn the other way, look the other way rule. And it was kind of a freebie at his house. Mm-hmm. So that's where I started drinking. I started experimenting with alcohol. I would drink some of his liquor under the cabinet, and then I would fill it back up with water from the sink so he wouldn't know. Of course he knew. We've talked about it before. But I used to love drinking. And then my dad bought a hookah, and he used to let me and my friends smoke the hookah. And no offense to my father at all. I love the man, but it's just me being real, I would stay most of the time with my mom for, I'd say, my 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. And then when I started becoming kind of more independent, I wanted to be with my dad so I could do whatever I wanted. But I quickly found a very unstable life. And I had a girlfriend at the time, and this is kind of where things kind of took a dark turn. I ended up basically, she caught me with another girl or something like that. And I was young. I think I was like 14 or 15. And I was so upset because she broke up with me. The only thing I wanted to do was I wanted to die, right? At 14 years old, wanting to die because a girl broke up with you is fucking ridiculous. Yeah. But I wanted to. That's how I felt. I was broken. I knew I made a mistake. So I ended up going over to my mom's house, and I know because my mom overdosed on some sleeping pills one time, and I knew where they were. And so what I did was I took her sleeping pills, and actually, let me backtrack a little bit. My mom lost her house. So my sophomore or my junior and senior year, me, my sister, and my mom lived with our best friend's family. Me and my mom shared a bedroom.
Okay.
And so I went into her room and I took, I think they were Ambien. I think I took like 6 or 7 of them and I swallowed them. And basically what Ambien does, if you fight, like it wouldn't really, it could probably kill you, but I don't know the history behind it. But for me, what it did is I fought the sleep. It made me sleepy, which basically made me roll, right? So I had never experienced a high like that before. I had smoked weed with my friends in high school. We used to go pick and ditch weed, and we would sell it to the foreign exchange students. And but I started freaking out, and I had called my dad, and I was like, "You need to come get me right now. I'm broken." And he came and got me. And on the way driving to his house, I remember being in the passenger seat, and I started screaming and crying because I thought cars were coming straight at us. And my dad started freaking out. He's like, "What did you take? What did you take?" And I blacked out and I hit the deck. Boom, slammed on the floor. And he called an ambulance. And I remember partially being in the ambulance. They were asking me what I took, and I was just so out of them. I don't know. And then they made me drink this stuff called, it's like chalk or something like that. Something to basically neutralize whatever you took because they didn't know what you take. And I thought for some reason, I thought it tasted good. They were like, "We've never seen anybody actually drink the whole bag. You're gonna have a pretty upset stomach. Just a heads up." They told my dad this, and I did for sure. But after that, I realized, like, I guess I didn't really realize what was coming, but I knew that I had some serious trauma issues, right? And I realized that I had problems with connection. I was very dependent on other people, like that old girlfriend. I was very dependent on her. I felt the need her, you know? And so I felt this. After high school, you know, I was still into music, and that's when my music career actually really took off. I was in a band that actually got signed to a record label, and we went on tour all over. We never went to the East Coast. We went, Wisconsin down to Texas, all the way over the West Coast and whatnot, a couple weeks long. And that's when I started seeing like success and attention, and I loved it, right? And I started feeling like hot shit. But unfortunately, I was a raging alcoholic, and I started messing around with my drug of choice was cocaine. And the guys that were in my band, they were not about that, but they were about drinking. A few of the guys had dabbled with it, but I knew that my problem was much, much worse. And I had 2 friend groups. So I had my friend group that was the musicians, right? And then I had my friend group, which was the drug dealers. And I found myself kind of, I'd be on tour for 2 weeks, and the second I would get back, I'd be like, "Guys, I'm back. Let's get fucked up." And I'd call them, and they lived down the block from where my band would practice. So we would literally drop the equipment. I would say, "Peace out" to my band guys. I would go to their apartment, go upstairs. They'd give me love. They'd be like, "What's up? How was tour? Here's a bump, blah, blah, blah." Next thing you know, I'm up 2 or 3 days. And I wanted to be like those guys, and I never could. And there was another thing too, like I was uncomfortable in my own skin. I was like, why are these guys always have the drugs. These guys always have the girls. Why can't I? Let me try to do it. Let me try to sell drugs. So then I started trying to sell drugs, but I was such an addict. I couldn't even sell the drugs because I would do them all.
Yeah.
And they would always put me on. They'd be like, "Here, try again. And I could never do it. And I was always kind of embarrassed. And I remember the first time, besides trying to basically kill myself in high school, the first time that I OD'd, I was up for 6 days. I slept 1 hour in 6 days. So I had went from cocaine to Molly to mushrooms to cocaine to Molly to mushrooms. So I would get high, then I would roll, and then I would trip. And every time something would come down, I would switch it. And so there was at that point, your body's just in fight or flight mode. There is no such thing as sleep. And I remember laying on the floor in the dark, and I was in the same position as you. I was like, my heart was racing, and I was the only one there except for my buddy who had just finally woken up after being awake for probably only 3 days. And he was in the shower, and I kicked the door down to the bathroom, and I yelled, I said, get out of the shower right now. I'm going to die. And I was like, my heart was racing. I had ripped my shirt off, ripped my pants off. I just needed to be in the cold water. And then, like, for some reason, I don't really remember what happened. It's kind of fuzzy, but I went back to the room and I just hit the deck. And I don't really recall what happened. I know they didn't call the police. I know that they didn't really try anything. I think they just thought I fell asleep, which I'm pretty sure I did just fall asleep. But I was laying there like, this isn't working for me. I'm ready to die, wanting to die, turning my phone off. At the time, I had a girlfriend then too. She would always break up with me because I would turn my phone off for 4 days at a time and not talk to her because I was embarrassed about where I was at, what I was doing. And, everything just kind of kept getting worse and worse. And, I thought if I moved away, my problems wouldn't follow me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my mom thought that too. So she bought me a plane ticket. She said, if you don't get out of here, you are going to die. So she bought me a plane ticket to Jacksonville, Florida, where my twin sister had moved after high school. And she said, go live with your sister. And so she gave me $50 and a plane ticket, and I flew down to Jacksonville, Florida, and started working at this little bar and grill down there. And the day I got down there, guess what? I found drugs again, found alcohol, because I didn't change who I was. I was still the same person running from who I was, and I hadn't overcome anything yet. So, it's not about where you're at, it's about who you're trying to become. And while I was down there, my brother came down to see me, and the last night that we were there, we went out to the bar to have some drinks, and on the way back to my car, a drunk driver jumped up on the curb and ran him over, killed him, And that was when I thought I was bad into drugs, but that's when things turned up about as high as they could go, right? At that point, I didn't care about anything, right? I didn't care about me. I didn't care about you. I didn't care about you. I didn't care about nothing because I was angry. And moved back to Wisconsin to be with my close friends because that's what I thought I needed. And then the drugs just turned up and up. And I won't go on with the drug story any longer, but it's crazy what the cycles can do for you, like addiction is it's so messed up and it's so crazy. And if you've never been through an addiction, you have no right to judge anyone in addiction, because something that I've learned about addicts is people who are addicts are usually the most amazing people in the fucking world.
Mm-hmm.
Because for one, they care so much and they're just hiding from themselves.
Yeah.
And when an addict puts their mind to something, we've talked about this all weekend, dude, they have this go all in or not at all, right?
Yeah.
They're going to get what they want. So that mindset and that trait of the addictive personality, if you turn it into something good, like we have done now, now that we've done that, you can be very successful pretty quickly,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, addiction fucking sucks, bro.
It's a sick life.
Yeah.
But like we talked about earlier, you asked me a question. Would you take away the things that you've been through because they've made you who you are today? And my answer was no. And as sick as it was, and the craziest things that I've been through, the things I've done to get the drugs, I wouldn't take them away, because those decisions led me to, my wife, my son, like all the way that the pieces aligned in my life. They led me to the good decisions, the bad decisions of going through rehab, overdosing again, and then getting clean, getting to my wife, being married, having my son, and then getting into this and meeting you and making a circle. I collabed with somebody over the weekend. It was like, when you start to level up in your life, your circle starts to shrink, but for the better. Like they just start to weed themselves out. And it was a good thing to see in my life finally for once, because I never cut those people off.
Yeah.
Like I had said before, I got clean, but I left them on the back burner. But this time was different. It was like, I'm done. Like, and they were done with me because they saw like, oh, you're doing your little fitness thing. How's your online coaching business? Like, oh, good for you.
Think
Like,
you're cooler than us now.
you're better than us. You got your meal prep today. Like everybody at work, they say that thing. But like you said, like, show me your circle and I'll show you your future. So
Yeah.
like I'm keeping in contact with the people that are leveling up and like working on themselves, people that I can relate to like yourself. And it's like, show me my future then. Cause now I know who I am and who I want to be around.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'd say I'm going to talk about kind of like a turning point in my life, you know, because there was a few big turning points because I have a almost 4-year-old son. He'll be 4 in May. I'm married as well. And your son is 3 and you're married as well. We're so much alike. It's crazy. But this is why I told you, God works in mysterious ways. What are the chances that just two dudes, not too far away from each other, but I grew up in Wisconsin, lived in Florida, lived in Cali, you lived in Vegas, just randomly meet down in freaking Oceanside last year. But the turning point for me to realize that I needed to get better was when I had my son.
Mm-hmm.
So when I met my wife, I was still pretty broken. I was drinking a lot. We would drink together. It was just something that was kind of socially acceptable, especially in the restaurant industry, right? Like in the restaurant industry, especially if you're a cook, you work your ass off and then everybody goes to the bar after. And dude, I swear, probably, I don't know what the statistics are on chefs and cooks that drink and do cocaine, but it's probably pretty damn high.
Yeah.
And every restaurant that I worked at, it was there. My wife never partaked in the cocaine or anything like that, but she partook in the drinking too. And I realized when we had our son that something had to change because I was holding this precious little boy in my hands, and I was just like you, like, what am I gonna do? Am I ready for this? And I started thinking about my life and the way that I grew up, and I grew up good in a good life. And I heard a story this weekend about another man that grew up in a very good life, and DMC Unchained, shout out to him. He went to prison for 6 years, and he was the all-star quarterback of his high school. He fell into the wrong circle.
Yep.
We're so stuck on wanting to be liked and wanting to be welcomed and loved. And at the end of the day, it's all bullshit, bro. The only person that really loves you is your family and Jesus, man.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I know now. And, 2 years ago, about 2 years ago, maybe a little over, I got a call from my dad in the middle of the night, and he said, "Hey, you need to get on a plane right now and come to Florida. Your mom just had a stroke." And I said, okay. And I had just talked to her the day before, and she had told me, because I had went to this financial conference because I was trying to figure out ways to do something different than be a cook, right?
Sure.
So I was trying to get into the life insurance business, and I was in a suit, and she had never seen me in a suit before. And she called me. She's like, "Baby, you look so good in that suit. I love it." And that was the last conversation I got to have with her. But by the time I got to Florida, we took a red eye. When I got there, her brother, my uncle, picked us up, and I was like, "Dude, be honest with me. Keep it real. What's happening?" She's like, "You got to get ready to say your goodbyes." And so I went to the hospital, and I remember being there and being so broken and being so angry. And when they finally told me that she wasn't going to make it, I remember pulling the blanket down to grab her hands, and her hands were black and her feet were black. And she had all this stuff on her and stuff. And I remember just running out of the hospital, and went and stole my sister's car and jumped in it, took her keys, and went screaming down the street, probably like $120 down the street, down like a 25, right? Just pissed, screaming. Everyone was calling me, trying to figure out where I was going. I was literally ready to kill myself. And I was sober at this time. I mind you, like, I think I was 2 years sober at this time from everything. And I remember being in that car looking up a liquor store. Like, I'm like, fuck this, I'm done. Like, I cannot, there's no way that I'm going to be able to overcome the death of my mother. I'm just going to give it up right now and get drunk because that's all I can do. And something in my head told me to go back to the hospital. Actually, it was my wife. My wife called me. She said, can you please come back? Your son and I need you here. And if I wouldn't have got that call, bro, I don't know if I'd be here. I might have drove my ass right into the river. But I went back to the hospital and I asked everybody to get out of the room. And I got down on my knees and I held my mom's hand. And I remember saying, sorry, God, I don't know if you're real, but if you are, you better intercede right now. Otherwise, shit's going to get really bad. And I've never in my life felt this before. I felt the hands of God on my shoulder. And in that exact moment, I went from being the angriest I've ever been in my entire life to my heart was so full of love that I knew that it was God. And I went from being angry and not knowing what to do to knowing exactly what to do and being happy that my mom was gone because my mom had suffered for so long. She was so unhappy. She was broke. She lived in China for 3 years teaching kids how to speak English because she was running from her problems too. And she was always just sad, you know, but she always loved us so much. And at that time, you know, I had never prayed before. I had never prayed out loud. And I always tell people that God was speaking through me because I stood up and I felt calm. I felt the presence of God, and I told everybody to come back inside. And I stood at the foot of her bed and I made everybody surround my mother. And I told everyone to join hands and I prayed. And I remember the entire room started crying because it wasn't me. I was not speaking. God was speaking through me. And after that prayer, my mom's side of the family from Georgia, very, very Christian family. My uncle was a pastor. I gave my life to Jesus in the hallway, and my whole life changed. You know, I started reading my Bible, going to church, and it was just that year after my mom died was the best year of my life. Crazily enough, and you know, I told this to you in the car right outside of here. You know, sometimes God has to take things away from you to show you what you're capable of, or to get you closer to Him. And whether people agree with me or not on this, unfortunately, my mom had to go. Otherwise, I was going to go. And I don't know why I'm still here. I don't know what's next. I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but I know that I'm supposed to help people. And that is the sole purpose that I'm in this coaching space. And I tell all my clients all the time, this is a fitness and nutrition program, but this is really a lifestyle upgrade. You know, because a lot of people on my program have spent time behind bars, have spent a lot of time in addiction. I would say 90% of my people on my program have struggled with this. And just by knowing that I'm helping these people pushes me farther every day. Does it put a lot of weight on my shoulders? Heck yeah. Absolutely it does. But at the same time, it's so fulfilling for me knowing that, you know, what I was able to overcome, I'm helping people overcome that with a healthy addiction, which is fitness.
Right.
You know, so that's just a little bit of my backstory and, you know, how I overcame some of my challenges and how I found God. But yeah, man, I give it all up to Him for sure.
That's beautiful, man. And I'm sorry the things that you went through, man. Like, nobody should have to experience that. But, you know, like you said, maybe God takes certain people or things away from us to get us closer to Him, right?
Yeah.
That's an incredible story, dude. I get touched every time you tell it. Like, I choked up there.
Yeah.
It's so touching, bro. And man, I mean, when I first met God, I was into music, and my brother showed me this video called The Truth Behind Hip Hop. and it was like a pastor showing the Bone Thugs and Harmony CD, and on the back of it was like, you put it up to the mirror and you sell your soul. I didn't really think much of it. I was like, really? And then I kind of dove into more of it, and the whole thing was like talking about Snoop Dogg and all these like secular artists. That was my introduction to God. And I remember getting on my knees and crying and like, okay, I need to change my life. And, you know, the one thing I can look back on now, even though I gave my life to Jesus at 14, he lived in my heart, I still made these bad decisions because I never feared God. I never felt the fear of God.
That's important.
Never. I loved him, and I loved Jesus all through my addiction. And I prayed for forgiveness every night. I'm sure you did too, you know, every day. Like, God, please forgive me for doing coke again or doing blow again or doing heroin again.
As I'm doing another line.
Every time.
Forgive me.
Yeah, every time. Because I never feared him. I was like, I'm saved by the grace of God, so I'm going to heaven no matter what. But something in me as of recently was like, you need to fear God because God has the ultimate power, like, to be, if you're lukewarm or if you're not, you know, in your word, he has the ultimate say so. Are you living a good Christian life? Are you being a good example? And I wasn't for the longest time, and that scared the hell out of me. As of recently, I'm like, I need to be a better example of who I say I am as a man of God, and actually, you know, be in the word and actually like make the things that we don't want to do. You know, I don't want to go to the gym all the time. I don't want to meal prep. I don't always want to open my Bible. But do I feel better after I do it? Absolutely.
Time.
Absolutely. And you know, you say you go to your quiet place, you go to the sauna and you pray. And I've seen it on your stories, and I commend you for that because it makes me like, you know what? I got to do better. When I see you do better, I got to do better.
Yeah.
You set the example, bro, and it rubs off in the best way to me, and then I give it to other people. So yeah, dude, you're setting a really good example for your son. I think that I am now too. I think we're in a much better space now, headspace wise, mindset wise, you know.
Yeah. And we're just getting started too.
Yeah.
You know, like definitely just getting started, because just this weekend has shown me so much about what I can do and the right way to do things, right? To actually monetize things. And when you're on, people call it, what do they call us? Influencers, right?
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call us. There's millions of different ways to make money, right? Why not figure out a way to make money doing something you're happy doing? Like, true happiness is freedom. Like, it's not for me, it's not a dollar amount. It's time, you know.
Yeah.
Time is our most valuable currency. And I speak about this all the time, but I spent so many years of my life trading time for money. And we all have the same three things in our kitchen, brother. We all have a fork, a spoon, and a knife, right? Each one are different. Each one are used for different meals. You wouldn't catch me eating soup with a fork, and you wouldn't catch me, you know, eating ice cream with a knife, right? It just doesn't make sense. But each one has their place, and you have to figure out how to utilize each one in the right scenario. And that was something that I lacked for a long time. I didn't know how to do for a long time. I was eating ice cream with a knife. I was eating soup with a fork, you know? And I was like, why is my life not working, bro? Like, it's because you're not utilizing the tools in front of you the correct way. And it wasn't till I got mentors and coaches, like the coach we have now, you know, who's showing us the blueprint of the right way to do things. And it's working. And we even talked about this too, you know? Sometimes our message comes across aggressive, you know? I'm a Christian man, but guess what? I swear, I lose my temper. I'm not perfect, right? You're not perfect. Nobody listening to this is perfect. And if you think you're perfect, I suggest you look in the mirror and find some imperfections about you, because you, brother or sister, you're not perfect. And that's not a shot at anybody, but it's just it's the godly truth, and nobody's perfect. And if you think you're perfect, you have an ego problem. And ego is the quickest killer to your hopes and dreams, hands down. But, you know, building this business and being on the social media, you have your haters, you have your lovers. People either hate you or they love you.
Yeah.
And I'm really starting to see that now as my business grows, as my platform grows. I get a lot of hate comments. I haven't really received too many hate messages yet, but a few times I have. And it's really hard not to comment back and just be like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like, don't you have anything better to do? And there's
Yeah.
been a few times where I've said some gnarly shit to some people. And then my wife's like, why do you even respond to them? I'm like, because so many people don't respond to these people, even though what they want is a rise out of you, right?
Yeah.
It's like these people have spent their whole life with no consequence,
Yeah.
and it's not like I would fly across the country and beat the shit out of somebody for commenting some negative stuff on my Instagram post or something. But, sometimes I feel that way for
Yeah.
sure. I'm like, oh man, if you were in front of me,
Mm-hmm.
I'd do something to you. But, it's definitely a ball game, right? And
Yeah.
it's a ball game that I love to play. And my message for everyone out there is stay real to yourself, stay true to who you are. I needed my lessons taught to me in a way, and a message spoken to me in a way that only I could understand. And that was in an aggressive way.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't need a soft, sugar-coated, hey, Alec, you should get your life together. No, it was like,
Yeah.
hey, bro, you're going to die or you're going to die.
Yeah.
So figure it out. And it was a very aggressive way. And so I speak my message to my niche of people the way that I needed it spoken to me.
Same.
And sometimes people are like, oh, you're a man of God. How can you call yourself a man of God? And you speak to people like that. It's like, it's never in a disrespectful or targeted way to one person. This is targeted to an audience that is like me, that needs the message spoken to them like this.
Yep.
And if you feel some type of way about it, maybe my page isn't for you,
Yeah.
and
Family or not.
yeah, family or not, and a family can be, I love every single person in my family, don't get me wrong, but sometimes family can hold you back too because they want you in your comfort zone.
Yes.
They want the best for you. And, if you're making X amount of dollars and you're supporting your family, even though you're unhappy, they're like, well, you're the man of the house, right? This is just how men are. They're unhappy. They put their head down and they just go to work, tie
Yeah.
your boots up and just rub some dirt on it,
Suck it
brother.
up.
It's like,
Yeah.
no, it doesn't have to be like that. This is 2026.
Yeah.
I can be happy and be successful and be a man of God and be strong and be fit. And why can't I have it all?
Yeah.
You can have it all, bro.
Yeah.
God gave you the tools to create the life that you want. You just need to listen to them. Fork, spoon, and knife.
Yeah.
Utilize them correctly.
Very, very true. That's good, dude. The decisions we make today, affect who we're going to become. Every decision we made us who we are. But that past version of ourselves doesn't serve us anymore. We've outgrown that person. And now we're on the path to become the best version of ourselves. 6 months ago, I was in a worse place. Now I'm better, and what I'm doing today, I'm shaking hands with my future self in 6 months from now. And I'll be thanking myself because I could look back in 6 months and shake hands with him. And he'd be thanking me now,
Yeah, exactly.
like you said, fork, spoon, and knife.
Yeah.
That's good, bro.
And I think one thing that can really help people who are listening to this or need to figure out a way to change their life is every morning when you wake up, look at yourself in the mirror and audit yourself. Just
Yeah.
like you audit your bank account, right? Like, why am I spending so much money on food?
Yeah.
Just the way you audit your bank account, audit your life every single morning. And I do this. I audit myself,
Yeah.
like, okay, what could I do better today that I didn't do so hot yesterday?
Mhm.
I lost my temper, or, I sat on the couch for an hour longer than I should have when I knew the grass had to get mowed. Damn, but now I got to mow the grass today, and I'm not perfect. I still do this. And this is why I audit myself every morning. And I audit my day yesterday too. Like, okay, I didn't do this good yesterday. But I think that we always have to remember to try to live in the moment because
Mhm.
tomorrow is gone yesterday is gone and tomorrow isn't promised.
Yep.
So what kind of life are we living if we're always worried about tomorrow or we're always pissed off about yesterday?
That's a good point.
So stay locked into the moment that you're at and just focus on what's in front of you, not tomorrow, but the beautiful family that you created. I've stayed with you all weekend. You have a beautiful family, you have a beautiful home, you have a beautiful house. We just made a little, talking reel about a house versus a home, and you have created a home, brother. Like, I am proud of you.
Thank you.
I haven't known you very long, but hearing your story and seeing from where you came and what you have now, brother, it's beautiful. And you are an example. How old are you again?
36.
36. You are an example of who I want to become, right? Like, you inspire me to want to do better. And this is what brotherhood is all about, is you want to surround yourself. Everyone talks about surround yourself with like-minded men. And I don't know how many times I heard that this weekend, but it's true. It's so powerful. Like, surround yourself with like-minded men, because those like-minded men are going to push you forward, right?
Yeah.
And for so long, we spent our time around like-minded men in the wrong circle.
Idolizing the wrong people.
Idolizing the wrong people, doing the wrong things. And you think about it, like, I spent 10 years in addiction. What if I wouldn't have spent 10 years in addiction? Where would I be now? I can't think about that.
Yeah.
Because just like you said, if we were all to throw our problems and our past and our trauma into a basket, would I want to take yours? Absolutely not. I want to take mine, because that built me who I'm supposed to be today.
Yep.
You know, just like your problems and your trauma, they built you to who you're supposed to be. And, you know, I don't know if you want to touch on trauma at all, but I have some things to say about trauma.
Let's do it. Go into it, bro.
All right. Well, so I don't know the studies on it, right? But they say that trauma lives in your bones, dude. And like, trauma is in your DNA, you know? And if you don't find ways to, you don't necessarily need to overcome trauma, but you need to find ways to deal with it healthy, in a healthy, you know, way. And I have had so much trauma, and I've only touched on it freaking briefly here. Like, you talk about people dying. One of my best friends in high school got killed in a drunk driving accident where his car flipped over and the sunroof was open and his head got cut off. You know, like, I have had friends, you know, that, you remember, you have Snapchat?
Yeah.
So I had to delete Snapchat because Snapchat was linked to all my friends back home who I was in my addiction with. And the only time I would ever get a message on Snapchat was when somebody died. Like, hey, just wanted to let you know this person's dead. They died. And I would get 2 or 3 of those a year. And it's not that I don't love those people. It's just that I can't be involved with that anymore. Like, I chose to move on and you guys didn't. I'm so sorry you're gone. Don't get me wrong. I'm sad. But I just can't keep hearing it. So I deleted Snapchat because it was a negative thing that was holding me back.
Yeah.
And we talk about, you know, vices and things that hold you back. Even though it was a very minuscule thing, I don't have time or the energy to have little things like that give me hiccups.
No.
Will I hear about that person dying eventually, you know? But I've tried to help so many of my friends come out of their problems, whether they want help or not. And if you don't want to get healthy, if you don't want to change your bad ways, no one can help you. I don't know how many times my sister, my dad, my mom, my grandma, my good friends tried to help me break out of my addiction. They were never going to help me.
Nope.
No one's ever going to help me, right? The only person you can help is yourself. It wasn't until I decided that I wanted to change is when I changed. But I think there's the power of community, right, that can really help people change. And this is what I preach to my clients on my online program. You know, I host 2 Zoom calls a week on Wednesday and Sunday. And the people that are on those Zoom calls, they are so much more successful than the people that don't go on those Zoom calls, because the community aspect is powerful. We go in there, we talk about our problems. People think like, oh, a Zoom call for a fitness coach, we're going to talk about calories, macros, workouts, discipline, structure. No, it's not that. It's like AA, bro. It's like we come in there, we talk about our problems. I don't hold anything back. You know, I talk about my issues. The way, and for any of my clients out there listening to this right now, you guys don't understand how much it means to me when you get on the call, because I take a lot of time out of my day, or time away from my family to do this for them. But I'm also doing it for myself because I need it, because I need to be surrounded by people who are struggling just like I struggled, because it reminds me of why I'm doing this.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Because you host Zoom calls too, right? For your clients?
I do every Sunday.
And how do those go? Do you like doing those?
I love them, dude. You know, I got the ones that show up and the ones that don't. You know, I've had people that signed up for the program and they went ghost. And it's, you know, I always tell my clients, you get out of it what you put into it. And the ones that show up are getting what they want out of it. They are succeeding. They're hitting their goals. And like, yeah, like you said, when we get on the Zoom calls, we don't just talk about calories and weight loss and fitness. Yes, we touch on that because they have goals, but you know, a lot of it is family. So we touch on like the relationship side of it and like where they want to be, the business aspect of it, and just the things that we're going through in our lives. And like one of my old friends is on there, old bandmates. He changed his life around. He's doing really good. So it's really good to have a connection with the community side of it and, you know, be able to be an inspiration to these people. There is no God complex on my side of it. I am not anybody's savior. I can't save you. Like you said, like we touched on, I can't save anybody. Only you could save yourself. And I was talking about with my wife about this recently, like people that are victims, they have this victim mentality because I used to have it. So I understand it when I see it. They think that these are the cards I was dealt and my life sucks and I just can't get ahead because of X, Y, and Z. You're deciding to live in that. You're deciding to like glorify the victim mentality and continuously live in it and nothing changes, right? You just complain about it and nothing ever changes.
Yeah.
I used to be the same way, but being a part of a community of like-minded individuals and surrounding yourself with like-minded men, it really does make a huge difference, dude. Like if I never met you and never continued to do this, I guarantee you I would have gave up by now. If I didn't see you winning and like striving to be a better man, because you are a little bit younger than me, but I'm like, dude, there's things about him that I want to integrate into my life as a man. Like your level of discipline, the way you're a father, a husband, it's like it rubs off on like-minded men.
Yeah.
And it's unmatched being part of a community and like, you know, being in this mentorship program. There's all kinds of dudes, like the stories we heard this weekend. It was very touching to hear everybody's background, where they've come from, the struggles they had, because we're all pretty similar in somewhat of a way. And the way that we're all trying to, you know, work on ourselves and be the best version of ourselves to give to other people.
Yeah.
It's amazing, dude.
Yeah. A lot of people fall victim to their circumstances.
Yeah.
Right. And you can either do that or you don't have to, though. Did we both do that? Yeah, man. I mean, I fell victim to my circumstances for a long time and I blamed everybody else but myself. No, it's not my fault. It's your fault. You abandoned me. It's not my fault. It's your fault, you know? And it wasn't until I looked internally and audited myself, it was like, damn, it's been me all along,
It was
dude.
me.
It
Yep.
was me all along. Nobody else had a problem. I had the problem.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just so thankful that God interceded in my life. And, you know, I'll be honest with you, dude. The last year, the first year that I found God, I was head over heels for that guy. You know, he was everything that's all I would talk about. That's all I would do. You know, I joined a men's group and I was on fire for the Lord. I mean, I was ministering guys that have been Christians for 60 years and they were mind blown the way that I was speaking. And I didn't even understand how I was doing it, you know, but it was all by the grace of God. And I thought it was to help other people, but it was really to help me, you know, like to understand who I am and what I'm about. And I'll be honest with you, this last year, building my business, I have fallen a little bit from God in a sense of not of what I know of God and how he lives inside of me, but just, you know, we talked about this too, you know, as that addict personality, we hyperfixate on things. And, you know, when I love something, dude, I love it. Like I love my wife. I love her to death. I love my son. I love him to death. I would jump in front of a train for both those two without even second guessing it, you know? And I love this business, bro. I love helping people. And I realized that God might not, you might not see or hear God as strongly as when you first get saved, but he's still right there, you know?
Yeah.
Just like how we, you know, like we went to, where did we go for lunch before this?
The Protein House.
The Protein House, right?
Yeah.
Like we ran into Big Tone, like, and you know, he's big time, bro. And you know, you got to exchange phone numbers with him and he's going to move to Vegas and you got a connection. There's a million restaurants in Vegas, a million places to get protein. and there's 24 hours in the day.
Yeah.
What are the chances that we're there at the same time as him and you get the opportunity to connect with him one-on-one, and now you guys have an opportunity to do something together? Like,
Yeah.
that's God, bro.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
Come on.
Thank you.
You know, so like whether or not we hear God or feel God, dude, he's at work all the time.
Yeah.
He's here right now with us. You
Yeah.
know, like this conversation, we had this whole thing freaking
Yeah.
scripted, dude. We were tripping about this for when did we decide to do
Dude,
this?
a month ago.
A
or
month
something?
ago. We have 5 pages of different
Yeah,
notes
we got
on
different
topics.
ones,
Like,
yeah.
okay, we're gonna stick to this because we've never done a real podcast before, and you know, we got in here and now we're just flowing, and that's
Yeah.
and this is also God at work too, like just allowing us to be comfortable in the moment, be
Mhm.
present in the moment, not be focused on, is my flight going to be delayed after this? You know, are you going to be on time to pick up your son? Now we're just here.
Yeah.
We're valuing this time as brothers, and we're just connecting,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So,
I want to say, dude, like, yeah, we were, acquaintances from Taylor's event, but now I consider you a brother. You stayed at my home.
yeah.
We've built a bigger connection in the last 3 days than I ever expected we would.
Yeah.
Because I was just kind of like, yeah, we're going to make content together. And, I've heard a little bit of his story, but dude, you're a brother, a friend to me. Like, I love you.
Yeah. Love
You know
too,
what I mean?
bro.
Like, yeah, bro. Like, we have this connection we built. It's been really cool. And I was telling my wife about it. Like, I'm so glad God put him in my life just to have like somebody in my life who's on the same wavelength, who's building the same type of business. Like, I've always asked God to, like, when I was doing music, I was like, please put somebody in my life that is interested in the same thing. But little did I know it would be fitness related. And it's just cool to be surrounded by, people like this and like yourself, to build this connection over the past weekend and like to bond like that. Cause you could have stayed anywhere. You could have went to a hotel, but I opened my home to you. I was like, yeah, let's see, I want more time with him to connect and like, make some content with him. But it's been way more than that for me. I don't know
Oh,
about
dude.
you, but dude.
Way more. I can honestly say I have had a lot of friends come and a lot of friends go, and made a lot of good friends that were the right friends and a lot of good friends that were the wrong friends, you know? And there is a time and a place for every person in your life. And I think that right now, this weekend, because I was struggling even coming to this, like I was like, oh, am I going to be able to do this? You know, how am I going to do this? You know, life always throws curveballs at you, and excuses and issues come up. And I was like, something in my heart told me, is like, you just need to go. And I really thought I needed to go because I was like, all right, I'm going to learn so much about business. And don't get me wrong, I did.
Yeah. Yeah, we did.
This
We
is the
did.
reason I came, right? But when we talk about God,
Yeah.
this right here is the reason that God put me here.
Yeah.
I didn't understand it, but after this conversation right now I get it.
Yeah. Me
You know,
too.
and like you opening your home to me and letting me stay in your guest bedroom. Also, I took the sheets off the bed and put them in the washer, but I didn't press start.
No worries.
You know, it's powerful, and it just goes to show, like, if you trust your gut, 9 times out of 10, your gut's going to be right, as long as you have a good heart and your integrity is in line, right?
Mhm.
Because if you're not aligned with who you're supposed to be, or who whether you believe in God or Jesus or not, whether you're Muslim or Buddhist or whatever your higher power is. I believe in Jesus. Believe he's the
Same.
only way to heaven. So that's my gig, right? And that's
Mm-hmm.
my identity, you know. And we talked about identity, and my identity now is man of God, father, husband, leader,
Mhm.
right?
Same.
Not in that order necessarily. I would say man of God, yes, first. Because if I'm not aligned with my spirituality, I can't be the leader that I need to be for my wife and my son.
Mhm.
And if I can't be the leader that I need for my wife and my son, I'm going to have a broken home. And if I have a broken home, I'm going to have a broken heart. And if
Yeah.
I have a broken heart, I'm an addict.
Yeah.
I'm going to get fucked up.
How could you lead others that way?
Yeah.
You know?
You know, and a lot of times people think too, you know, when you get sober, it's easy. It's like, oh, after a year it gets easy. Like, no, I don't know what my sobriety date is. Honestly, I lost track, but
Yeah.
it's still a fight. Like I was in the airport on my way here, and there was people drinking everywhere. And I had this one quick thought. I was like, dude, nobody's here.
Mm-hmm.
I could have a drink. And not that I wanted to, but like as I was looking around, I was like, it's so socially acceptable
Yeah.
for everyone just to be turned up all the time, you know? And I had a guy comment on one of my posts where I was talking about alcohol in airports, and he's like, well, some people have a fear of flying, and this is their way to cope with their fear of flying. And I commented back, said, yeah, that's exactly the problem, dude, is
Yeah.
this is their coping mechanism is alcohol. If this is how they cope with just flying, how do you think they cope with other issues?
Yeah.
Alcohol too.
Mhm.
You know, it wasn't me poking or taking a stab at anybody, but it's the way that I get my message out to people. You know, someone heard that might not drink at the airport today, you
Yeah.
know, or might not have a drink at home tonight,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that's all that matters. Jesus left how many people to get the one, right? You
Right.
know, and
99.
that's my goal too. I'll leave 1,000 people behind, or I'll say the message however I want to and piss 1,000 people off as long as I can help one person.
Yeah.
And I think we get so hyper fixated on wanting to be liked and loved by everyone. And that is going to be impossible on social media, especially,
Yeah.
you know, especially trying to grow your business and staying true to yourself. And I won't lie to you, dude. I lost myself for a little bit on social media because I wanted to find a way to, what's the right way to say this? I wanted to find a way to grow my page as fast as possible. So I was posting content that was trying to go viral.
Yeah.
Right. Just like I know Dane
gives me shit all the
gives
time.
you shit about making viral content. And I had some stuff go pretty freaking viral, but it was so stupid.
Yeah.
And finally I made a real post on there about my addiction, and I threw jail photos in there, and I told my story, and that one went stupid viral.
Because it was relatable.
Because it was relatable and it was real.
Yeah.
You know, I've had some posts hit 300, 400,000, and that one is almost at 1 million.
Yeah.
1 million views, which may not be big time for some people, but for me, with only 2K followers at the time, or 1,000 followers at the time, it was huge. I was like, dang.
Yeah.
What is going on? Every time I opened my phone, I had 100 new followers. I was like, oh man, this is a good one, you know? So, and it just goes to show, stay true to who you are, tell your story, and be relatable.
Yeah.
So
100%, bro. It was a really good post. I remember seeing that. Like, dang, dude, you had posted a version of it before, but this one was like much better structured.
it's because I learned how to edit stuff better. So.
But it's good because it's relatable. Like people who relate to it. I've gotten messages just from some of the stuff that I've put out that's like, hey, dude, thank you for that post. Like, I've been struggling, white knuckling it with sobriety. I talk about that all the time. Is like, getting sober will not save you. You know, it's not going to be a magic thing that's like, hey, you're fixed now. You're all good. Because I've done it before where it's like, I'm sober now, but I'm empty. I hate myself.
Yeah.
Hate who I am in the mirror still. So I still want to numb who this is, running from
somehow.
who I am, you know? So like I preach that message all the time that white knuckling sobriety is just a ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
If you don't find an outlet for the high you used to get from the dopamine rush and everything, then it's a ticking time bomb, you know? I know it was for me 100%. Like that's why I had multiple relapses and overdoses, and because I never had the outlet. But it wasn't until I found like self-development and going to the gym to channel that energy, that dopamine rush, you know,
Yeah.
that I was able to actually change my life and become who I am today.
Yeah.
2 minutes.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times, from what I've noticed, actually, a lot of addicts fall into fitness
Yeah.
because it is such a dopamine rush. You get that workout, you get that pump, you look in the mirror, you're looking good, and it gives you the same high as whatever drug you used to be on, but you know it did something good for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. You got a message for anybody out there before we wrap this up?
Man, take a look in the mirror and audit your life. Like you said, where do you think you're falling short that you could do better? Because if you're sitting there idle, wasting time, scrolling on your phone, watching Netflix, if you have a family, if you have children, they're looking up to you to be the example. So be the example. Don't just be present. Being present isn't enough. You have to lead by example.
Yeah.
That's my message.
Yeah. I would say my message to anyone listening to this too is find your reason why. Because your reason why will propel you forward and keep you in tune with who you're truly supposed to be. My real message would be give your life to Jesus.
Yes, yes.
Give your life to
Jesus.
Give your life to Jesus, because he's the ultimate healer. He's the ultimate physician. He will save you.
Yes.
You know, if you can't save yourself, he will save you, just like I talked about earlier. But, you know, if that's not something that you're willing to do yet, you know, then by all means, find your reason why and let that be your reason to want to be better and do better every day.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, man. Love
Beautiful.
you, bro.
Love you, bro. Thanks for doing this with me, man.
Yeah, absolutely.